Welcome to Environmental Breakdown, where we break down the biggest environmental stories and hope that this isn't the last week tonight. I'm Ishita.
And I'm Shreya. Join us every fortnight for updates on everything from climate chaos to environmental governance.
Whether you're a curious mind or a dedicated activist, we've got you covered because the planet is sending us some serious warning signals and it's time we started listening.
So, let's dive into the latest headlines shaping our world and our environment this fortnight.
Let's start with Kerala. Known for lush landscapes, tea plantations, and landslides, the Kozhikode Wayanad Tunnel, India's third largest tunnel project, is moving forward in the landslide hit Wayanad district. Perfect timing, right?
Nothing says fix landslides like drilling into mountains. And while that's happening, the Kerala High Court is offering therapy to landslide victims as the state pushes for more land chopping projects.
Meanwhile, as the earth is collapsing, billionaires have finally decided to leave it. Okay, no, but a billionaire, Jared Isaacman, completes the first private spacewalk.
Back to Earth, where a landslide linked to climate change shook the Earth for 9 days. Researchers say the vibration from it was so intense that our planet essentially had a nervous breakdown.
Speaking of disasters, in Shanghai, the strongest storm in 75 years hit the city. Typhoon Bibinka left 8 dead and forced mass evacuations.
And meanwhile, in Antarctica, something rare happened. The ozone hole formation is late this year thanks to a weak polar vortex.
In other news, fossil fuel companies spent 4 billion euros on sports washing or sponsoring sports to distract from their environmental mess.
Very on brand for them. But on a brighter note, in Bolivia, women are cleaning up Lake Uruburu and taking charge, proving it's not all bad news.
In the Amazon, Brazil's fire teams are not just fighting forest fires, but the arsonists starting them. Their opponents, climate change and crime.
And tragedy strikes again in Kerala. A brain-eating amoeba has caused another death, and the Nipah virus is back. To top it off, the first Mpox case in India has been reported there. What is happening? It seems like nature isn't done with Kerala just yet.
That aside, on a global level, things aren't looking great either. Earth may have reached 7 of 9 planetary boundaries.
In Africa, Malawi is in crisis. Hit by floods and droughts, communities are devastated and they're calling out major polluters, demanding they take responsibility.
In Bihar, India though, delayed floods have killed 10 and displaced thousands, wiping out crops. If it's not heat waves or landslides, it's floods. Climate change has a wide range.
And that's the rundown. You can run from the climate crisis, but you sure can't hide. Unless you're a billionaire in space. In that case, just float away while the rest of us stay down here. And, well, whatever this is.
We're really setting the mood today, huh?
Just trying to make Environmental Breakdown live up to its name.
Today, we will be diving into the strange, tragic, and potentially misunderstood events in Bahraich, India. A story of attacks, terror, and unanswered questions.
In Bahraich, a series of brutal attacks, allegedly by wolves, have left at least 10 people dead, most of them children. And it's not just about fatalities. We're talking about over 50 people injured since the attacks began earlier this year.
So they have been hunting humans. This is straight out of a nightmare, right? The stuff of folklore and horror movies.
But was it even a wolf? Let's start from the top. Over the last few months, a pack of wolves has allegedly killed over 10 people, including children. The UP government even declared Mahsi Tehsil a wildlife disaster zone. There's been a full-scale government response. Cue Operation Bhedia.
Picture this. Drones, thermal cameras, forest officers with tranquilizer darts. This sounds like the next blockbuster. But it is the grim reality for the villagers living there.
Let's set the scene a little. March 23rd. Wolves or something wolfish attacked a village, leading to the capture of a wolf and its pup. That should have been the end, right? Wrong. Just when things were starting to settle down, July hit and suddenly more attacks.
Yes, by the end of August, these attacks were more common than conspiracy theories on social media. A recent attack involved a 15-year-old girl attacked in her sleep right next to her grandmother outside their home. Villagers are terrified to sleep outside, yet some still have no choice. More on that later, but how does one even sleep at night when something like this happens?
Well, you don't. The region is in chaos, with locals arming themselves to protect one another. After an 11-year-old boy was attacked on September 17th, Operation Bhedia launched, deploying 165 forest personnel and 18 shooters to capture the wolves. But only 5 of a supposed pack of 6 were caught, and the attacks still continue. Suspicious, right?
Wolves aren't supposed to act this way. They're usually shy and elusive. Indian wolves, being smaller than their European counterparts, might target babies but not adults.
And here's the twist. The forest department seems convinced it's wolves, citing drone footage of a pack of 6. But let's be real, drone footage isn't conclusive.
Veteran conservationist and ex-dean of the Wildlife Institute of India, Y.V. Jhala, notes that there is zero DNA evidence linking wolves to the attacks, not even pug marks. Plus, this behavior doesn't match typical pack hunting. He suspects that it could be a lone wolf-dog hybrid or something else entirely.
But I guess this isn't the popular opinion because some have already placed the blame on wolves, stating reasons like revenge and confusion. What comes next? Jealousy?
Well, they don't act out of revenge, no matter what Gyan Prakash Singh, the retired forest officer, says. Apparently, Singh believes that the wolves are avenging the deaths of their cubs. Sounds like the plot of Jani Dushman. Are these wolves or Ichhadari Nagins?
In fairness, a wolf cub was killed by a tractor earlier this year, leading to some connections being made. But as Dr. Jhala points out, wolves don't hold grudges. This isn't like elephants, who can get quite emotional. In the absence of a clear culprit, villagers have started targeting all kinds of canines: wolves, feral dogs, jackals. It's open season on anything that looks vaguely wolf like.
Historically, wolves have been revered and feared, featuring in the Mahabharata, the Jungle Book, and of course the Big Bad Wolf. Wolves killing people isn't new. In the 1800s, thousands of Indians died from wolf attacks. Talk about history repeating itself. It's wild to think that back then, wolves were considered as dangerous as tigers.
Yes, in fact, the British considered wolves vermin, paying bounties for each wolf head brought in. Despite large scale extermination, 3,000 wolves remain today, and the numbers are dwindling. Interestingly, British hunters also kill jackals, mistaking them for wolves, just like today. Well, wolves are now protected as a Schedule 1 species under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972.
And in the modern era, we have compensation culture. Families of wolf attack victims get paid, but not for dog attacks. Let me explain this with an example. In 1996, many so-called wolf attacks in eastern UP turned out to be people settling scores or cashing in on compensation. It's like the Wild West out there with old grudges disguised as wolf attacks.
Which brings us back to the real problem here: habitat loss. Wolves don't just wake up one day and decide, on today's menu, we have humans. The ongoing deforestation, encroachment, and human expansion into their territory is forcing whatever animal this may be to act out.
Yeah, and human animal conflict is becoming increasingly common in India. Think about this. Whether it's elephants in Assam or tigers in the Sundarbans, we're seeing more wildlife venturing into human settlements because their natural habitats are shrinking or their habitats are getting fragmented, dispersed with highways and urbanized settlements. Increased conflicts between wolves and livestock also represents disappearance of native prey species.
And let's not forget about poverty and infrastructure, or rather the lack of it. As Dr. Chala pointed out, the main issue is that many of these villages don't even have proper housing. They're sleeping outside under mosquito nets and becoming vulnerable to wildlife attacks. In some areas, livestock get better protection than kids, which is seriously concerning.
Absolutely. The Uttar Pradesh government has responded by offering compensation to victim families and ramping up efforts to capture the remaining wolf. But is that enough?
Probably not. Experts like Abhi Vanak believe the real solution lies in a complete overhaul of how we handle human animal conflict. It's not just about killing or relocating the problem animals, it's about integrating our attempts at wildlife conservation, habitat restoration, and safeguarding human livelihoods.
Exactly. And as conservation improves, these conflicts will likely increase. There's a need for proper infrastructure, funding, and collaboration between wildlife NGOs and local authorities to manage these situations before they spiral out of control.
It is a tough situation, no doubt about it. But one thing's for sure, the Bahraich wolf attacks have put a spotlight on the need for better human wildlife coexistence strategies. Until we figure that out, tragedies like this will keep happening. So, where do we go from here? The forest department's still chasing down the last wolf, but is it even the right wolf? What if we are not solving the real problem?
Maybe we should focus on better land use planning, which helps delineate wildlife corridors and buffer zones. This could help reduce habitat fragmentation and thus decrease such nasty encounters.
Community based conservation efforts, like the ones happening in Assam, could be the answer.
That's right. Assam has a few measures to reduce violent human elephant encounters, like putting beehive fencing, which, by the way, scares off elephants, or planting lemon trees near paddy fields to ward them away.
And they also have an initiative called Hathi Mitra, which is a warning system essentially entailing volunteers monitoring the movement of elephants to alert the railways.
One more instance of successful community-driven conservation is in Ladakh, where historically wolves who prey on livestock were stoned to death in these trapping pit-like structures called shandongs.
After years of collaboration with local communities, organizations like the Nature Conservation Foundation have reduced deaths on both sides by working with local leaders and replacing shandongs with religious stupas.
So, whether it's wolves, hybrids, or something we haven't considered yet, one thing is clear. The situation in Bahraich highlights a growing problem in human-wildlife coexistence.
Wolves today are vilified while they are struggling to find habitat. Maybe it's time we rethink how we share our planet with animals.
A far cry from stories of wolves who raise children in the Jungle Book, the question is, will the wolves survive the brunt of human development? Welcome to the next segment, Progress Unplugged, where we strip down the glitzy facade of development and dive deep into what's really happening behind the scenes.
We are unplugging the hype to bring you the truth.
Kaziranga National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Assam, one of those places we keep saying we want to protect. It is home to forests, wetlands, grasslands, and now luxury resorts. Because nothing says nature conservation like a 5-star spa package amidst habitat destruction.
Exactly. Kaziranga covers over 1300 square kilometers, home to the one-horned rhino, elephants, and a few tigers who probably need a break from all the attention. On August 3rd, Assam government signed an MOU with Tata Group to build a Taj resort and spa right next to the park for that wilderness vibe, but with AC and mimosas.
Funny enough, last year, the same idea was pitched to Hayat and they backed out. But Tata is in. And we're talking rupees 120 crore to bring this project to life. I mean, gotta use your corporate change somewhere, right?
And this is where things get interesting. Because not everyone is thrilled about this. Activists, environmentalists, and the local farmers are protesting with complaints and petitions.
Yeah, and the locals have a valid argument. Take Inle Pothar. This is a significant area in the park, home to around 400 elephants. They're just living their lives doing whatever elephants do, probably complaining about humans. It is also significant for farmers who have been working this land for generations. And now they're being told that this farmland isn't theirs anymore. They are being labelled as encroachers.
The Assam Tourism Development Corporation sent notices to locals like Lokhu Gwala, A farmer that basically says, "Surprise, your land now belongs to the government." On June 7th, his house was bulldozed because nothing says we respect your rights like smashing your home to the ground.
Over 45 families now face displacement and they are challenging these land claims. But hey, what's a little displacement when international tourism is on the line, right?
Now, you might be wondering, how bad could this really be? I mean, it's just a few hotels, right? Well, no. These proposed hotels are smack in the middle of elephant corridors, places where elephants literally walk, migrate, and I don't know, maybe live.
And let's not forget, during flood season, these higher grounds are the elephants' flood shelters. So when the floods hit Kaziranga, and they do every year, the elephants head here to avoid drowning. But with the luxury hotels sitting on top of their shelters, what are they supposed to do? Book a room?
If they do, they better ask for an elephant discount. But seriously, this is bad. It's not just the elephants. Building resorts here risks the entire ecological balance. Experts say it'll increase human animal conflicts. Imagine an elephant minding its business, suddenly facing a tourist in a bathrobe with a martini. Awkward.
Not just awkward, dangerous. Blocking migration routes could push animals into villages, escalating human animal conflict. Do we really want incidents like the wolf attacks in Bahraich? Farmers aren't just angry about losing land, they're also worried about getting trampled because someone thought it might be cute to build a hotel on an elephant playground.
And let's not forget the legal drama. The National Green Tribunal stepped in on August 7th, taking suo motu action, which is basically saying, wait, there's something off here. They are investigating whether these land transfers were even legal, considering you need environmental clearances, public consultations, and some basic common sense, ideally.
Journalist Mubina Akhtar called out the government for branding locals who have lived there for generations as encroachers, while corporations waltz in and build hotels. Ironically, the forest department won't let locals dig a well, but a 5-star hotel in an elephant corridor is all good. Sounds fair, right?
Totally fair. Welcome to the land of double standards.
From farmers to tea estate workers, multiple protests have been organized. It's not just about elephants, people's entire lives are tied to this land.
So, what's next for Kaziranga? Will we see these luxury hotels break ground? Or will the farmers and elephants team up in a weird but heartwarming George of the Jungle style rebellion? Well, only time will tell, but the fight's far from over.
Yup, it's a classic standoff. Corporate interests versus people and wildlife. And honestly, Kaziranga is too important to lose to some fancy hotel with overpriced room service. This isn't just about Assam or India, this is a global heritage site. The world is watching.
And let's all just think if there is a better way to enjoy nature than bulldozing it. If you have any queries or comments, please reach out to us at environmentalbreakdown2099@gmail.com.
Thanks for tuning in to Environmental Breakdown.
We'll be back in a fortnight with more stories. Because why stress alone when we can freak out together?